It doesn't require a lot of clay, it doesn't require a lot of tools. So what I have here are some maker's marks. These are stamps that have various initials on them. So I'm going to show you what they look like in the clay because the marks themselves, you know, don't look like as much. I'm going to stamp this one into the clay, and it says CS, clay sale. We use this stamp when we're making something to be sold in the clay sale. This one here says RD, Rachel Dorn. That's my stamp that I often use in the studio. And then I have one that's made slightly differently, and this one says YV, looks a bit like the YVC logo thing that they have now. So all of these stamps that I just showed you are maker's marks. Maker's marks are stamps or tools that you use to make your signature for your work. And so I'm going to ask all of you in both classes to make a maker's mark. And you can make several if you want to. You can try out some different designs. These were made differently. So this one, the CS, it was basically pushed in, the letters were pushed in. This one was pushed in with a slightly different tool. And then in this one, the clay was cut away from the outside of the stamp. And so you can do any of those sorts of things. You might want to think a little bit about what you want your maker's mark to be, RD, right, or your initials, but that can be a little tricky because we sometimes end up with similar ones, right? So Ronald Douglas is going to have the same RD as me. And so if you can think of ways to make your initials or your mark a little bit more distinctive, that can be really helpful. I've just squished a little bit of clay, quite a small amount of clay, into a little round part. I'm going to push it down. Oh, sorry, can't remember where you can see me. I'm going to push it down on the table to just flatten it a little bit. And then I've got a variety of tools that I could be using. So I have some carving loop tools, some ribbon tools here, and I could cut away some clay with this ribbon tool. Now I also have this sophisticated tool right here. It's called a pencil. And pencils and pens are actually pretty nice because their end is a little bit wider. They just make a cleaner, like a bigger, more distinctive mark. So this one's kind of a dull pencil and it's made the curve there. Now, we also have a lot of needle tools in the studio. You might have one in a kit you've bought. This is not a tool I recommend. Take a look at the difference between those three lines, the curve and the two straight lines. That skinny one that I made with the needle tool is too thin. It's just not going to show up. This is wet clay. These have been fired. They've already been cooked to the point where this is clay, but this is now ceramic, and that's what allows them to press in like that. But if I were to fire this one and press it in, you would see the two thick lines, but you wouldn't see the skinny line. It would just get blocked, essentially. It's too thin. So I don't recommend, take this needle tool and get rid of it. You can use it for other stuff, but you don't want to use it for making maker's marks. It's not my favorite option for that. I also have some of these rubber tip tools, and these rubber tip tools that are blue are real nice because they have ball styluses at the end. So the ball stylus makes a nice line. When you cut press this line into the clay, you get a little bit of a raised stuff, so you do want to clean that stuff up. The rubber tip end can actually be really nice for cleaning up the edges. And then I'm going to use my ball stylus again to make that bottom line a little bit thicker. Take your time on these, give it a few tries, try it a few different ways, see what you like. I'm asking you to do this on your own time because it is so portable, but one of the things I normally do when I have you do this on campus is I come around and check and make sure that they're going to make a mark. So I will take a look at them when you bring them in, but while you're working on them, keep a few things in mind. You want a nice thick line, deep and thick, and you want to keep the stamp pretty little. I would say this is less than an inch, between a half an inch and an inch. Keep them pretty little, but big enough that you can see the mark there. So that's my finished mark. Now I made a mistake. I did it on purpose. Wink. What mistake have I made? Notice the difference between my two RD stamps. See that? This one's backwards. This one's not backwards. And of course, what happens when I stamp them into the clay? This one's gonna become backwards. This one's gonna go from backwards to frontwards. So be aware of that as well. It's really easy to make a mistake and turn your stamp, your maker's mark the wrong way.